Hello, Guten Tag und Grüß Gott. Newswit here. Today is Monday, October the 31st of 2022. And you know what that means, October the 31st? It means it's Halloween, All Hallows Day, and all this kind of thing. So once again, I'm going to have to make a handheld video because I'm outdoors. And I wanted to give you a sense of what's going on today here. And it is, in the words of the immortal Piglet, a blustery day. And you will probably hear this in the microphone, that the wind blowing like crazy. So anyway, here we are. I don't know whether you can see the background, but the view here is just absolutely spectacular. See the mountains in the back. And then, oh yeah, we do have, satellite dish and phone service and all that kind of thing. So here we go, here we are. And I will do another impromptu video. So I don't really know what I'm going to be talking about, but the Ukrainian war and the thing that's going on over there still gives me a lot of pain. And so maybe I'll just talk about Russia and what my opinion is on what's going on over there, because, well, it is only my opinion, of course, and I don't have terrific, current knowledge about, the intricacies. But I tell you what I see on the news, is mostly, Russia is being defeated, they're retreating, and Russia is, the Ukrainians are just fighting bravely and they're pounding away at Russians, of course, with Western help and all that. And I don't hear a heck of a lot from Russia, actually. So my question is, what is really going on there? And since we don't know, my opinion is probably the same as anyone else's. But I'm going to try to give you an opinion without, the agenda that you see in mainstream media and in some of the YouTubers that are treating that subject. Probably the best news and the most comprehensive would be coming from the inside, from the Ukrainians and the Russians themselves. But, how do they come to us? They come to us by video, and that, of course, is, suspect in terms of promoting some agenda. So let me just talk about the Russians a little bit. First of all, they are the masters of propaganda. They've been doing this for since the Tsarist times, And World War I, everybody was afraid of the Russians, and they called it, the Russian steamroller, And then there was this battle at Tannenberg, and the Norwegians, the Swedes, and the Germans, kind of got together and they just stopped that Russian steamroller, and the Germans like to call that the Russische Dampfwalze. But anyway, so, they had convinced everybody they could just roll over everything. And, that's kind of what happened in the Crimean. There's just one day they walked in with all these young guys with guns on. The uniforms were uniforms, but they were nondescript. And when you talk to them, where are you from? Oh, I'm from Moscow. So it became pretty clear, but there was no warning. In this particular case, with the Ukrainians, of course, on February 24th and the time preceding that, we saw this massive buildup, of 100,000 troops, with the logistics and so forth, on the Ukrainian border. And, Biden told us, that, hey, they're going to invade, and nobody did anything about it. They invaded. And then they were stopped a little bit, okay? But, so anything that you hear out of Russia right now, whether it's from Putin or anything like that, is take that with a grain of salt. That's pravda. And the thing that you hear from the Ukrainians, how they're kicking ass and so forth, take that with a grain of salt. But I can tell you this, is that I've been under Russian occupation. I've dealt with the Russians. I've talked with them. I've played with them because I was a little guy at the time. But the Russians can't be underestimated. As a matter of fact, I think that there really isn't a good way out for Putin, on this whole deal, unless he comes up with something really imaginative, that that kind of pleases the West and it can be good for both sides. But evidently, Putin and the Russians do need the Ukraine because there is a lot of technology going on in the Ukraine. And, who knows whether the Russians can even wage a nuclear war or anything, anything. Let's hope there is no such thing as nuclear war, period, no matter what Putin says. So, I really don't know how this is going to end, but I tell you what, it's going to all surprise us somehow, because something's going to happen. Whether the Russians will cave temporarily, and if they do, for some reason or another, look out, there's more to come. Because, they may not have been ready for this Ukrainian war, but I tell you, they're tenacious people. And if Putin can convince them that somehow they're defending their own country, they're going to do what they can to go out there and kick butt. So, yeah, they're talking about the meat grinder, and we're hearing about people, protesting and they don't want to go to war. The young people are leaving and all that kind of stuff. And some of that is probably true. But all in all, I think that the Russians are not done with this, and they're not going to be done until they have what they want. So, my personal experience with Russians. Well, as it happened, was I think it was like in 1944, it became clear that the Russians are going to, maybe go as far as Berlin and who knows where. But, they couldn't have done that without the help of the Allies and especially American aid. And I think in another video I talked about how the Russians, showed up with a red star on their jeeps instead of the white star. But, do not just take for truth, what you're hearing right now. And was Putin right about doing this? Oh, well, he can, as a matter of fact, he had, this long conversation, during the first few days of the invasion back in February of this year. And with Macron, of France. And Macron says, well, we had a 2-hour conversation and it was a history lesson that Putin was trying to give me. And, I think there are nations around, including China and Russia and maybe some others, that don't think that America should be running everything, and be the determinant, of what kind of government we'll have and so forth, especially when they look and see what our government here is doing. And the strife that we're having here. So I'm a little conflicted on that, but the bottom line is to invade somebody else's country, cause all of this pain and suffering is, basically unconscionable, especially now when, real war can be waged, by just wiping out humanity, mostly. Anyway, I think that's just about my piece on Russia. And let me just show you around a little bit more here. It's a blustery day. The sun is not out. And I think a 10-minute video on this is probably okay. So with that, I'll bid you farewell. So long, auf Wiedersehen, and we must infect the universe with us.